Hello and welcome to episode 2 of The Private Record. Thank you for tuning in, however you are doing so, whether you're watching or listening. And frankly, I first off wanted to say thank you so much for watching and listening to the first episode of the show. The feedback, the response was overwhelming. It was overwhelmingly positive, and I just want to say thank you for that. And let's keep it going. Obviously, for everyone who did listen to or watch episode 1, you know that the guest on that episode was quite a character, let's say. And it sort of almost goes against the whole ordinary people telling extraordinary stories, which is what this show is all about. Enter our guest for this episode. He is very much sort of the consummate regular dude. He's just a guy you would meet out in the world. I like him very much. I found him to be very warm and kind. But more importantly, his story is absolutely bing bong bonkers, and that's what we want. It's our only criteria. Is your story good? Yes, let's get you on the show. And that's why it's the main reason why our guest for this episode, Lewis, is our guest on the second episode, because, you know, we're trying to give you the full flavor, the full spectrum of the kinds of things, stories, and people you're going to encounter on this show. So in the weeks to come, the episodes to come, my main priority is to sort of show that spectrum of, you know, the kinds of people, the kinds of stories, and all that. So you really have a sense of what to expect moving forward. And of course, if you want to be on the show, go to theprivaterecord.com and submit yourself as a potential guest. We can't wait to hear from you. You find us on Instagram, TikTok, all socials at The Private Record, and of course on YouTube at The Private Record. That is our official channel. Please subscribe. Please, if you're watching, like this and comment, share with your friends. I love doing this. I want to do it forever, and that will help ensure that I can. This particular story, Lewis's story, there were moments during this interview that I remember I actually got completely lost in the story and forgot we were even on camera. So I feel like there are maybe moments where I'm just like looking like a complete moron. That's because I'm just so engrossed in the story. I think you will be too. He tells it in an amazing way. It is an amazing story itself, and I think you guys are going to love it. So without further delay, we shall continue the regular people revolution that this show is. And I hope you love this episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I love you with all my heart. I love each and every one of you. Thank you.
My name's Lewis. I'm 29 from the UK. And long story short, should I say, I got myself into a little bit of a hostage situation.
Now,
accident.
This is by accident. Nobody tries on purpose to get in a hostage situation, I should hope. But this is our first hostage situation scenario outright. We've had similar things-ish, but this is our first outright hostage scenario, so I'm very excited. Let's get right into it.
Like I say, I'm from the UK. I moved to where I live now back in 2011. I was like, I don't know, 17, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I had just begun my descent into addiction.
Okay.
And I was, I was a kid. Let me add a caveat. I was raised well, mm-hmm. and I was looked after and loved and everything like that. But something obviously just didn't compute that right, and I started using drugs, and I had just started really being a bit of a fall off in this sense by the time that I moved to this new town. I mean, it's a couple hours away. It's not like an alien environment, mm-hmm. you know. But I moved here with my family, and all of a sudden I was introduced to this new environment, mm-hmm. where there were new people, and I had the opportunity to make good decisions, mm-hmm. at that stage. Mm-hmm. It's like fresh start, right? You know, 17, your whole life's in front of you. But I didn't. My goal, like subconsciously, was to go and find the worst people for me, the worst situations, mm-hmm. danger, excitement, drugs, risk, all of that sort of thing. But
so were you coming real quick though? Were you coming like You said fresh start. Does that mean like you were where you were before? Or were you already into drugs and sort of running with the rough crowds already? And then that just
Yeah,
continued after you moved? Okay, got you. Okay, yeah.
exactly. I had started delving into that lifestyle, and I was like, oh, maybe this is like where I belong. This is cool. This is fun. Let's just do drugs and get in crazy situations and get in trouble and all that
Mhm.
sort of thing. And it obviously everything when you're 16 seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
Worse so, everything when you're on drugs seems like a really good idea too. So yeah,
I can
so
attest to that as
yeah, I
well. I
got
can
into
attest to that as well, yeah.
yeah. So I got into cocaine and methadone and obviously smoking weed and acid and everything that I could get my hands on. When I moved to the town that I moved to, I managed to run into drug dealers.
Mm.
And naturally, being a drug addict and a drug user, you happen to run into drug dealers every now and again.
Mhm.
So I decided at this point I had dropped out of college. I had started working here, there, kind of doing bits and pieces, but you run out of money real quick when you're
Mhm.
a drug addict. So I was like, hmm, what's the best way to fund a drug addiction? Well, I'll just get drugs and sell them.
Mhm.
Business idea.
Become a dealer. Why not? Yeah.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So I start befriending these drug dealers, and one day comes along where we're sort of on a texting basis, and it's not just me ordering drugs at this
Mm.
point. It's like chatting.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I'm going to take my opportunity. So I said, well, I've got a motorbike. I can move around quite unsuspiciously. Um, I'm mobile and I don't have a job. So do you need me to run drugs for you? And they were selling, cocaine and methadone. And I don't know if methadrone's around in America or
I was gonna
was.
ask, what is that? Yeah.
Yeah, not to be confused with methadone, which I
Okay.
think is like a synthetic heroin. It
Yeah.
was
It's how
it was a
people kick
synthetic.
heroin. That's what we have over here, methadone. Yeah, right, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think we use the same here. Like you would get methadone like from a doctor,
Right, yeah.
but no, methadone is actually a synthetic, or was intended to be a synthetic MDMA.
Oh,
And
okay.
the reason they had synthesized it in such a way was so that it would get through regulations and you could buy it legally.
Wow, okay.
So it wasn't illegal. You could buy it online, and as long as they labeled it as not for human consumption or whatever, then you could buy it.
Oh, wow.
But it was, yeah, it became a thing in the news, all these kids dying and all this sort of
Right,
thing. So it eventually got stamped out. So it barely even exists here nowadays.
right.
But yeah, it was real cheap and real intense and real addictive.
Mm,
And so, yeah, I started sort of moving this around for them. And one day, the drug dealer, she was a woman, she said to me, I need to go out. I'm going out to this rave or whatever. Could you come to my house, look after my house and my dog? And while you're here, I'll pay you for your time and you can use all the drugs that you want. And of course, I was selling drugs for her anyway. So
right.
I was like, awesome.
Good deal, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I'm there probably for overnight or something. I'm playing with the dog, and then my girlfriend at the time, she comes around. The drug dealer, she had said specifically, I don't want anybody else in my house, just you.
Okay.
And so anyway, besides that, I still let my girlfriend round. And while I'm there, the drug dealer, she calls me and she
Mm,
says, oh, I'm at this party around the corner. I need some fresh clothes because I've been out for like a day or whatever.
mm,
I need some fresh clothes. So grab me some clothes and drop them off to me where I am. So I say, yeah, sure. I don't know what girls wear. My
right.
girlfriend happens to be there, right? So I'm
Luckily,
like,
yeah.
oh, what's right? Yeah. So I'm like, show me what should I take to her? So we're looking through the clothes in her bedroom and making a bit of a mess and that. So I find the clothes, I take them to her. few hours later, the drug dealer's boyfriend comes to the house. By this time, my girlfriend has left, and he says, "Hey, I got a funny request for you. I need you to make me up an ounce, 28 grams of fake methadone."
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I said, "Well, yeah." I'm like, "There's plenty of it here, man." He's like, "No. I want you to make a fake one." So I'm like, "Okay."
And
So
just to
he
be
walks
clear,
off
you
around
had
the house.
plenty of the real stuff there at the
Yes.
house.
Yep.
He says he wants
Yeah,
a
and he said,
fake
"No."
ounce of this stuff.
Exactly.
Methadone. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did he
wants
say why
specifically a
at
fake one.
all? Like, was he okay?
Nope. And I didn't. I hadn't made a habit of asking many questions at this
Okay.
point.
Sure. Yeah.
And so he says, "Yeah, you make this up for me." So I weigh out like some salt and some
Oh,
bath
God.
salts and
Yeah.
some. Yeah. So then I pack all that up for him. I give it to him, and he leaves. Anyway, a little while later, I don't know, maybe through that night, maybe into the morning, the drug dealer, she comes back. And she gets into the house, say hello, blah, blah, blah. And she's walking around. She's walking around, looking a little confused. She's with a few friends. And then I just start to hear bangs and smashes and shouting. I'm like, don't know what's going on here. And she comes into the room and she says, "You've stolen my money."
Oh, boy.
And I say, "What? I didn't even know there was money. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't even know there was money here." She said, "There was £2,000 in cash in my drawer in my bedroom. You went in there and you stole it." I said, "Well, no, I didn't."
Right.
But of course, I've been in there looking for the clothes,
Yes,
right?
that's
So
what I
it's
thought
all
of
like
too,
messed
yeah.
up. The drawers are open.
Right.
So it doesn't look great. So I say, no. She says, "Has anybody else been here?"
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I said, no, just me.
Oh.
And she says, yeah. She says, "Well, you're the only person here. I can't snitch on my girlfriend at this point."
And just to be clear, you don't for a second, or do you think your girlfriend saw money and just took it real quick, right?
You know, I did toy with that idea briefly. But to be frank, she would have told me that that's what she was going to do had she done it. Like we were both idiots, but we weren't that dumb.
Sure, that would be very stupid and would be putting you in such a terrible situation anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm enclosed in that house, right? So she would have had to endanger me by doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, shit. So at this point, I'm starting to panic. I don't want the drug dealer to see my phone because I have been texting my girlfriend saying, "Oh yeah, come around. This is the address."
Oh God. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I stuff my phone into the sofa, the couch that I'm sitting on, and one of the friends sees me do it.
Oh no, dude. Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. So the drug dealer, she comes over. She says, "Give me your fucking phone." She takes the phone. Fortunately, she doesn't go through my messages.
Okay.
What she does is she goes to my contacts and looks for Mum.
That's worse.
That's worse.
That's the worst thing. What is she? I mean, what the? That is an interesting tactic. I think I see where this is going, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so exactly. You could probably guess. So then she, just for context, my mum has got an idea that something's wrong.
Okay.
I'm out of the house way too much. I'm losing weight. She's really concerned about me. Probably didn't know the extent of the trouble that I was getting myself in. She, she's a social worker. She probably knew I was on drugs and was trying to find a way to fix it. But as you've probably experienced, or everybody would have experienced, if you've got a drug addict family member, it's really, really hard to stop them from doing what they want to do.
I mean, everybody says it, but it's true. Nobody stops drugs unless they want to, and it's just one of those things. Yeah, it's got to be so hard.
Just one of those things, and you can't force anybody to quit any addiction. They have to choose to do it, and so So anyway, yeah, the dealer, she goes through my phone. She looks for mom. She calls her, and she said, "I have your son. He's in my home. You need to give me £2,000. End of conversation.
Just that's it. Hangs up.
That's it. Hangs up.
Oh my God. At this
Yeah.
point, just a quick question. At any point up to now, have you considered that this woman is completely lying and just wants to rip you off for money?
You know what I did think at the time was I didn't think she was lying. I did think that she was always high enough and drunk enough that she might have misplaced it.
Got it. Okay.
And she's been out for, I don't know, 36 hours. She's come back off of her face. I thought maybe the money wasn't even there in the first place and she's just lost her mind.
Right. Yeah.
Then when she starts demanding the money, it might have crossed my mind that maybe this is just, I can't get out of this now. So this would be a real easy way to extort £2,000.
Yeah, I mean, you're in such a bad situation. I mean,
it's really
every which way.
Not a great deal of choices from my perspective. But so then there goes a really long time where I can't obviously leave the house. There are no follow-up calls made. She has just told her that she wants the money. And then, however long later, she makes this call again. She says, I want my fucking money. Your son's stolen it from me. And, most low-level drug dealers aren't particularly smart most of the time.
Sure.
They make certain decisions to prevent themselves getting in trouble, and they're quite good at that. But they can usually make some pretty foolish errors. And what she does is she gives her bank details to my mother.
Wow, what the fuck? Can we just stop for 1 second? I want to go back for a second.
Yeah.
The kind of mind that procures your phone, clearly you're trying to hide it. It would be understandable if she thought, let's say the money really was missing. If she thought, this motherfucker stole my money and the evidence is in the texts, I'm just going to look through that. That would be the first thing you would think. Or at least call history. Like, the first thing this motherfucker does is go to your mom. Like, that is such a weird first step.
Like, and it's like, even if you believed that I had stolen the money from you, obviously the thought isn't, I want to find out where it's gone. The immediate thought is, I know a quick and easy way I can extort this money out of him.
That's why
she could go chase the money down.
That's why it made me think, is she just lying entirely? Because she's not looking for the money. She's just looking for £2,000 immediately.
Exactly.
And even if you grant the fact that she really is missing this money, she is just completely letting go of the possibility of reacquiring that money and just going straight to your fucking mom. That's fucking insane.
Without a thought.
It's like she's done this before. She's like, you know what? That money's gone. I'm calling this motherfucker's mom. Like, that is just so wild. Yeah.
And maybe she's thinking I can get the money, and then I can get the original 2,000 as well.
Yeah. Possibly.
Yeah. And so, however much time passes, I mean, it was, a full day. And of course,
it was a day. Hold on.
Yeah.
You're held hostage for a day.
Yeah. At least.
I mean, okay, so what is she? Obviously, she's got to keep an eye on you to some degree if she wants this to go down her way. What does that look like? Where is she keeping you? How is that? Is she fucking feeding you? Is she giving you water? How under her watch are you?
So I'm kept in one room. There is a Staffordshire Bull Terrier in there with me. And the dealer's boyfriend is now returned to the house, and he is there, watching the door, so to speak, walking back and forth, keeping an eye out. And there were a couple other people floating around too. So I got a big ass dog sitting in there. No food, no water, nothing. And you should bear in mind as well, I'm coming down now off of quite strong stimulant drugs.
Yeah, I mean, you're an addict. Don't you need a fix at this point as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And especially with this like level of stress
Yeah,
and adrenaline,
yeah,
like everything was burning off super quick. I
yeah.
haven't slept, it wasn't unusual for me to not sleep for 3, 4, 5, 6 days at a
Whoa.
time. And even longer. So I haven't slept. I haven't eaten for however many days. I've got all this adrenaline, all this panic, and then I'm there a full day at least.
Oh my
And
God. I mean, just
yeah.
to check in with your mindset at this time, like how panicked are you? How scared are you? Or are you kind of like, what's going on internally for you?
Well, I was pleading with her. My only panic was for my mum.
Oh yeah,
I
that I
was
get.
like, that first phone call was so brief,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what's she gonna do for £2,000? She gonna kill me? Probably not, right?
Right.
So she might harm me, and that doesn't scare me too much.
Yeah.
But now I know that on the outside of this room, my family's in a panic, my girlfriend's in a panic, everybody's scared. I don't know if the police are involved. The police arriving at the location, nobody knows where I am, but they might be able to work it out in time.
Mm-hmm.
Police arriving at the location is going to be a really bad situation.
Yeah.
And so that's what my mind was just racing. So I was pleading with her and I was saying, look, it's too late now. My family's in a panic, everything like that. I say, if you give me 48 hours, I don't know who I thought I was. I'm not fucking Heisenberg. I can't make £2,000 in 48 hours.
Sure, yeah.
I'm selling drugs. I said, give me 48 hours, I'll come back with £2,000 in cash. I had every idea in my head. I thought, I'm gonna rob a corner shop.
Right.
I'm gonna do this. But I'll get you to. It's £2,000. Now I'm grown up and matured and that sort of thing. £2,000 is an accessible amount of money.
Right.
When you're 17 and a drug addict, it's not.
No, I totally get that, man. That is, I mean, I there are parts of this story I've been so like attuned to what you're saying. I forget that you're just 17 years old. Like this is crazy for anyone.
17-year-olds are idiots anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You can't not be stupid when you're 17. And if you're also infected with drugs and addiction and all these sorts of things, like I say, bad decisions are a given. And they only get worse, those bad decisions as well.
Yeah.
But so she doesn't let me go. My mum is a middle-class woman and she's doing well for herself now. At the time, she did not have £2,000. I still don't know to this day where she got it from. But it was there. And, now I'm a father now. If somebody called and said, I've got your son, I would find it.
Yeah.
So she managed. The money goes into the bank account. And during this time, the dealer now has the sense to go further into my phone.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
She's now thinking, I don't know why this has only occurred to her, or if she was like, now I've got the money secured, now I can go get the rest of it or whatever. But now she said, you're free to go. She keeps my phone. And she also says, I'm going to go get your girlfriend. Where does she live?
What? Dude,
and so I
what the fuck do you even like? Okay.
Yeah.
This is just never ending. It's a fucking nightmare.
It's such a nightmare.
Yeah.
Such a nightmare. And she's saying, I'm letting you go now. You need to give me your girlfriend's address. I've been through your phone. I'm like, I've got to have some shred of morals left.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I have one last chance to make a good decision, I'm going to do it now. I'm not going to tell her where my girlfriend lives.
Yeah.
So I said, I could show you where she lives, but I genuinely don't know the actual address. So I can't give you something to put into a sat nav, but I can show you I've got my motorbike outside.
Right.
She says, come in the car with me. I said, no, I'm going to take my motorbike, because then once I've shown you where the address is, I can leave, because I don't want to be there when whatever happens.
That's smart, actually. Yeah.
Smarter than my brain capacity should have allowed for, I think.
Right, yeah.
I haven't slept for however many days. I've just been through this ordeal. It's however many days or hours later, 36, 48, or whatever it is, since it all started happening. I'm in no fit state to be on a motorbike.
Yeah.
And so I get on it. They get in the car behind me, and I take this opportunity to tear off down an alleyway, turn back on myself, and immediately flee to my mom's house.
Oh my God.
So they're hot on my tail.
Oh my God, dude.
I don't know if they can work out where my girlfriend lives.
Right.
I don't know if they're heading for my girlfriend. I don't know if they're following me. Right. I don't know if they know where my mom lives.
Well, that's the scary thing, right? If they know where your mom lives, then they know where you live, and they can wreak endless havoc if they so chose.
Exactly. And all I'm thinking when I'm like flying away on this motorbike is like, this can't end well.
Yeah.
There's not like a mutual agreement and a handshake and a smile that this ends with at any point. So I've got to do something here. So I head back, I find my mom. Obviously my mom is distraught, and my mom didn't even know that they had let me go after the money was paid.
Yeah.
So I just turn up at the door with my motorcycle helmet still on.
Right.
And I'm like, they're on the lookout for either me, you, or my girlfriend. I don't know what to do. And so at this point, the police are called.
Yeah. Yeah. Had your mother not called the police at this point yet?
I don't think so. Yeah. I think she probably felt that I've never asked her this, I don't think. Yeah. I think her immediate response would be satisfy the demands.
Yeah, right.
Ensure my safety. And to jump back a little bit, the dealer, she was laughing between phone calls, taking the piss out of me, because she was saying, your mom's just so concerned about your safety. She said, I don't care about your safety, I care about my money. And so I think my mom's immediate instinct is get him safe, right? Get him safe, do what we have to do. And the money's the money, and the recompense or whatever is the recompense. So at this point we go to the police station, and the police then immediately go and check on the girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
Go to the address. Yeah, they were really responsive. And all I have in my head, because I'm still an idiot 17-year-old drug addict, is I'm like, oh, I'm snitching.
Yeah. You know? Also, you need a fucking fix now more than ever, right?
Oh, dude, I was in such a bad way. I was in such a bad way. And now I'm not high, so you can't get away with being 4 days no sleep tired.
Yes.
If you're not high.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like delirious, and I'm like, I just want this to end. And so I give them like the layout of the address that I had been at so that they could go there. I give them the address of my girlfriend, and then they say, you just need to get somewhere safe, and we will deal with the rest. And so I basically flee back to where I grew up, hide out there for a little while. All the while, it becomes clear, I've obviously found this out at a much later date when I returned back to where I live now. So the boyfriend of the drug dealer, when he had come back for this package of fake drugs, he was doing that to rip somebody off.
Yeah.
Obviously. While he was there waiting for me to make the fake ounce, he wanders into his girlfriend's bedroom, sees £2,000 cash and takes that with him as well.
I figured as much. I mean, that has to be the most obvious thing. If these people are shady as fuck, it's got to be one of the shady people that was at the house, you know, not going to be you.
There's no honor among thieves, man. There really isn't. And so that is what had happened. And all this time while I've fled back to where I grew up, all I can think about is I've ruined so many people's lives, you know, at least temporarily. I've put people in fear and all this sort of thing. The people involved are all caught and all arrested.
Whoa, really?
Because
I mean, that's fucking kidnapping, right? I mean, that's a serious offense right there. So what else? What are all the charges? Like, what's going on?
So the charges are common assault, false imprisonment, demanding money with menace, all these other.
Wow.
There are a lot of things you can pull out of that ordeal that are, you know, easily chargeable offenses.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, being a drug dealer that makes a habit of keeping people hostage and all these sorts of things, usually you have warrants out for other things too.
Right? Sure, yeah.
So it all kind of comes falling in on them. And while they're in custody awaiting charge, they're also charged with a plethora of other offenses as well.
Wow.
And so they spend however long they do in prison. But I mean, while this whole arrest process was going on, I had gone back home and I was like, maybe it might be time to get clean.
Might be a good idea. Yeah.
There was a small period of self-pity and just making it worse and that sort of thing. But fortunately, I got to rehab.
Good.
I did a month cold. It was, I think, 3 weeks after my 18th birthday, I went to rehab.
Oh, so you got cleaned up pretty soon after this, like really soon after this.
Yeah, like wake up call. You know, it's like this. Like I say, there's no happy ending to that story.
Yeah.
You know, that only ends badly.
Yeah.
The guy that's off his face on drugs, selling drugs, hanging out with drug dealers, getting himself in hostage situations. You have to change that story for it to have a happy ending. It doesn't stay like that.
Yes.
And so fortunately, you know, with my family and everything and encouragement from everyone, I got clean. And that was not easily done. And it did, of course, come with follow-up issues and relapses and struggles and that sort of thing. It's you know, it's a moving target. It's you know, but during that whole time, then they are all arrested. As I say, they're further charged and that sort of thing. But we have to go to court appearances, and so my mum has to face these people in court and that sort of thing. But they changed their pleas from not guilty to guilty on the day. So we've turned up to court, awaiting to give testimony. And they changed their plea on the day. There was a little bit of bartering. Like they said, if you remove little slivers of things from your statement, then they will change their plea to guilty, and you won't have to go through the whole trial ordeal and that sort of thing. Which I felt a little bit of a moral quandary with, because everything in my statement was true, but also I wanted it to be done.
Yeah. Right,
you know, right. I was like, enough is enough. Let's just end this.
Yeah.
And so skipping forward, I'm clean now. I have a 6-year-old son. I have a nice home back where all of this happened. Where I live now is 300 meters away from where it all happened.
I mean, that is incredible. I mean, usually people are like,
I walk past it every day.
Get me out of that place. I don't want to think about it, but you I mean, it's actually all the more impressive that, and actually that makes me want to ask, why did you put down roots right there? I mean, it's so easy to say this place is bad vibes. I got to get the fuck out of here. Don't want any visible reminders. What made you stay?
So when I left and got clean, my mom stayed here. And so when where I was, not to go into detail, but where I was, I didn't want to stay. Wasn't particularly at home with my mom. Wherever my mom was home. And so at first I came back, and paranoia was too much for me.
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, I was waiting for somebody to jump out of a car. I did have encounters with affiliates and that sort of thing, and I was like, this is not where I need to be. But then after enough time where the sort of panicky feeling wore down, I was like, actually, I'm not going to put myself in that position anymore. And I'm not going to let because the people aren't here. So I'm not going to let the location beat me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be not in this place just because I made terrible decisions in this place. This is a great place. It's a good place for my son to live and everything. We have the ocean there and the hills there. And I'm like, I'm not going to let that own me, So over time, I became accustomed to it. And interestingly enough, this was 2012 that the sentences were handed down, and I think one of them was 9 years or something, 7 to 9 years. The original charge for the crimes they committed against me were lower, but with everything else they were rearrested for while in custody made it worse. But so maybe 3 years ago, I'm going for a run up the hills, and I'm on my way back. And I'm running along the road, and I see the dealer that kept me hostage.
Calm the fuck on, dude.
Yeah. And I see it from a distance, but I mean, I could draw that face very accurately for the rest of my life.
It's imprinted on your mind, yeah.
Exactly. And I recognized her so quickly. And I'm running, and she's standing at the back door of a car. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to change path. I'm not,
oh, wow.
This is me and this person now. And if we need to hash out anything that we haven't since 2012, then I guess we'll have to do that. And as I'm running, she reaches in the back of the car and pulls out a baby in a baby seat and puts it down on the side and starts unclipping the baby. And I look up at her, and she looks up at me, and we recognize each other. And it was just, 2 seconds of recognition. And then she looks back down at the baby, picks the baby up, and takes it into the house.
Oh my fucking God.
And I'm like, man, her life has changed as much as mine has. Like, that's good. Because you know what? I thought that when I next saw her, it was going to be like seeing the devil.
Yes.
And really all it was seeing another person that made horrendous fucking decisions in their life. And immoral decisions, selfish decisions, and they were all influenced by drugs. And then once we've both found a good path, we've both just made better decisions. And I'm like, well, I'm happy for that. I don't have any ill will toward anybody that was involved in those couple of days, because we were all under the influence of the same drugs. We were all under the influence of the same selfishness and moral gaps. And I think if I were willing to do immoral things, which almost anybody who's an addict with no money and no, sense of direction is willing to do, then I'm not going to judge them for doing that either. And everybody survived. We all carry whatever scars that we carry and that sort of thing, but everybody's okay, and that's what matters. And I guess you could say it all turned out okay.
I mean, a circuitous route, you might say, but that's
for sure.
It is. I mean, as far as these things go, what you might call a happy ending after all. I mean, that is considering the drama, the stakes, the potential just violence, the potential horror of that scenario could have gone even after that day, a number of ways I can think of for it to go sideways on you, on your mom, on and a whole bunch of horrible things come to mind.
Exactly.
But I am curious about that interim period after it goes down. You go to your mom's and then you skip town for a minute while the police do their thing.
Hmm.
You're away for a while. You come back. Right when you come back, how, like, you touched on it, but I am just curious to just hit on it for a little bit longer. Like, how is that paranoia affecting your life? I mean, I'm picturing myself in your shoes, knowing my own mind, I would just never be able to relax, uh,
Yeah,
even at home in my
literally.
own bed, you know?
100%. You know, you hear a car door slam, and you're like, "Are people rushing out their car to come get me?"
Right.
If one thing I noticed is if I'm walking down the path next to a road, and if the car that was driving on the road pulled up to park or something like that, I would turn, and I
Right.
would think that somebody was pulling up to come grab me and that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
it was into, you know, I would keep my journeys from one place to another as short as possible. But I think like a lot of things, the passing of time made it lighter
Yeah.
and lighter and lighter over time. And sometimes that can be a bad thing. You know, sometimes you can fall into
Mm.
a false sense of security
Mhm.
and get, you know, caught lacking. But really, what it did was prove to me that there weren't any monsters hiding in the bushes, and what had happened had passed in everybody else's minds more than it had in mine. And I was more paranoid about it than anybody else.
Yeah,
And
right, yeah.
I was thinking that something bad was going to happen more than anybody else. Somebody that, you know, like I said, I did have a couple of brief encounters with people, but this was immediately after I came back. And really, other shit happens in people's lives,
Yeah.
and they go on their merry way,
Yeah.
you know. And that's kind of paranoia a lot of the time, well, for me at least, was kind of um like narcissistic almost. I was
Mm.
like, everybody's out looking for me, you
Yeah,
know,
right, yeah.
and somebody's coming to get me. And realistically, they weren't. Most of them have forgotten who I was.
Mm.
And it just goes to show, you know, that when I do pass the main perpetrator so many years afterwards, they just give me a brief look and then carry on with their day. You know,
Yeah.
I like to think that everyone involved, probably like I did, getting clean
Yeah.
and being forced to get clean, and having to reconcile your life and your decisions and everything like that. Perhaps they saw that this was all just a giant fuck up. You
Mm.
know, this,
Mhm.
this was not the way to go. There were no good decisions made down this path,
Yeah.
and that, like you say, it could have ended up so much worse for literally
Yeah.
everybody involved. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm
absolutely.
grateful for that. You know,
Yeah.
like I say, I have a great life now.
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
that is
what can I say? It's everything.
how often do you think about this? Because I'm, you know, you talk about the paranoia, you talk about the brief little run-ins you had that might have been like spikes in your blood pressure or whatever, constantly looking over your shoulder, loud sounds. How much of, I guess it's a two-part question, but how much of that do you think was more PTSD than anything else? And also now, how much do you still think about this? Because it's such when you think about the day-to-day life of anyone, right? It's just mostly just no matter you adjust to a crazy life. Like even if you have a crazy life,
Yeah,
to that person, it's just for you
yeah,
in your life, it's and then it just keeps going, right? So it's like that brief period in time was so hectic that
yeah,
it's imprinted, as you said, the woman's face is just in your mind and you could etch it
yeah.
in a heartbeat. Like how much do you still think about it, if at all, except for times like this when you think, oh, I got a crazy story? And also
Yeah.
back then, how much do you think you were affected by the sort of post-traumatic effect of it all?
Well, it's a really good question, because I was talking to my current girlfriend, you know, 6 months ago or something like
Mhm.
that, and I'd been to the doctor for something trivial, and up on the wall they had a leaflet for PTSD.
Mm.
And I just picked it up because I was flicking through the leaflets and that sort of thing. And I remember coming home that evening and saying to my girlfriend, I've never once considered that I might have experienced trauma. That had never
Wow.
come to mind. I never thought of that as a traumatic experience. I thought of that as a culmination of bad decisions for which I could learn from and do everything in my power to not let happen again.
Right.
And so in terms of thinking about it, I guess I had barely thought about it. And then somebody would bring something up and I would say, like you say, I got a crazy story. This crazy thing happened once. And they would be like, that sort of thing doesn't happen in normal life.
Right,
Those things aren't supposed to happen, right? And because I had adjusted myself to this lifestyle and I wanted that lifestyle, I thought that was just a part of that. This is just the crazy shit that happens when you live around drugs and all that sort of thing. Whereas actually, it's something that you need to decompress at some point.
Yeah.
You can't just carry that around because, like you say, it's like that, right? And I had just pushed that spike somewhere else, and then it would come back, and I'd be like, "Geez, yeah, that was fucking scary, man."
Yeah.
And then it was gone, and then it's gone.
Right.
And if I see something that might remind me of it, then maybe. But like I say, I walk past the house where it happened all the time, so I really felt like I was confronting it. But what I was doing was assuming that was a part of my life, and that was it.
Right.
And you have to. People. I heard somebody say once, the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And that's no matter what. So I've always just thought of, worst things happen. That was just crazy. That was back then. Back in the day, this crazy shit happened. Whereas actually, there's something that you need to confront as you become an adult, and because otherwise you carry it with you. And I've got a 6-year-old now. If I'm too combative against him as he gets older, going near drugs or going near a situation that might lead him there, then I'm probably going to make it worse. Right. So I've tried to try and, like I say, decompress that situation a little bit more now that I'm older and that I can understand it from a real perspective. But like I say, no, I never really thought about it much at all until now. And I think of it in a different perspective.
Also, it's interesting. I think of myself thinking, how could he still live there? I would move as far away as fucking possible. But being there and staying there, it's almost its own form of exposure therapy, which is what psychotherapists and psychologists always say is the way to get past fears, is to, usually incrementally expose them to what they're so afraid of. And then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. But for you, being there around the clock and just, as you say, going by the house, running into the people that were involved, by now it's almost like through your lived experience, you've therapized yourself, possibly, almost. Because most people push it away, push it away, push it away. I myself would do that too. But by staying in that melee, it's just like, it's you're exposing yourself nonstop, and you're sort of getting used to it and not letting the trauma and the spike of it control your mind. You're sort of quelling it by just being inside it. It's kind of an interesting metaphor.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't know there's no monster in the bushes until you look in the bushes, right? So you could avoid the bushes if you want to, but then you're always going to wonder whether there's a monster in there or not. And it was exactly because I was sort of semi-forced back into the area because I wanted to be with my mom. I was, like you say, I was exposed to it. And so then after time, I realized that there's nothing out there waiting to grab me, and that it's okay, and that you're safe and everything like that. And now it's like a fuck you to the trauma. You're not gonna scare me away. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna face it because I know that there's no monster in the bushes. So it's okay. And I'll deal with it on a day to day, and like you say, it did work out measurably happier in the end than it could have.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's like it's a lesson learned, if anything.
Yeah, I'll say a massive lesson indeed. Two more things just stood out to me. One
Mm.
is that even in your sort of corrupted state at 17 on drugs, doing whatever you were doing, it's an illustration of how to be a good boyfriend even when you're a shitty person, and how to be a bad boyfriend even when you're a shitty person, because you refuse to take those people to your girlfriend's house, while the dealer's boyfriend is the whole root of the fucking problem in the first place, stole money from his
Yeah, that's
fucking
so true.
girlfriend, you know? So,
Yeah.
no honor among thieves, but, there's still like a bit of gray to that whole spectrum anyway, You can still have a bit
Yeah,
of
I never
morals
actually thought of that.
in the midst
Yeah.
of all this crazy shit. But also it's just a quick question. Uh, I'm sure there are people out there who are addicted to drugs or at least buy drugs recreationally, and they think, but I know my dealer, and my dealer would
Mm.
never pull some shit like that on me. And maybe they're right. But I'm curious as to what your relationship with your dealer was like up to that point. Obviously, there was some familiarity and some
Yeah.
friendliness if she's asking you to watch her house. But like,
Yeah.
how well did you think you knew this person before that all happened?
It's interesting that you say think you knew this person,
Mm,
because I did think that I had some sort of a friendly enough relationship with
mm,
her. But I know now, obviously, that I was just a useful idiot, and that I was willing to do whatever she wanted me to do as long as I had a constant flow of
right.
drugs.
Yeah.
Um, but I also thought, like, maybe she'll like respect me,
Mm,
or maybe it makes me cool, or whatever the fuck. And I thought, well, I'm gaining something out of this relationship as well. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, if your drug dealer cared about you, they wouldn't be your drug dealer, particularly.
That's very well
But
put. Yeah.
yeah, and so but I knew that, even at the time, I knew that this wasn't like equal,
Mm,
fair, loving relationship.
sure.
And
Yeah.
I also knew that I was getting something from her. I wasn't offering to help her because I wanted to be helpful only. I
Right.
also wanted the drugs.
Right. 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 Yeah.
If there was no source for me to feed my addiction through her, I wouldn't have offered that olive branch.
Yeah.
But we would, so like I would order drugs from her probably every other day, something like that. But I noticed that she would answer me even when the line was closed, so to speak. So
Mm,
usually they weren't selling the drugs at
right.
past 3
Right.
a.m.
Right. Right.
or
Right. Right.
whatever. And she would say, "Yeah, that's fine. I'll send somebody to meet you." And that's, so I was like, "Oh, is she nice?" You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, what a and I guess I don't know if she was ever doing that from a manipulative sense from the beginning,
Mm,
or if that was just she was actually just available at that time or whatever. But she probably saw me as a dumb 17-year-old that if she went an extra step for me,
mm,
she could get me to do whatever the fuck she wanted. And I'm sure that extended into the extortion of the money as well.
right. Right. Right.
If
Right.
she had somebody that she didn't know too much about, or was a bit more of a threat to her, she probably wouldn't have left them in her house and then even tried to get the money out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
y-
we were manipulating each other.
Yeah.
It was just that I was a lot more vulnerable than she was, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just such a transactional relationship, no matter what. Without the
By
drugs,
definition.
you wouldn't be friends. So yeah.
Exactly. But
Um,
Matt, you would be amazed at how many people think they are friends with their drug dealers.
Yeah, no, that's why I brought it up. I mean, it makes sense, and back when I used to dabble myself, you meet a drug
Mm.
dealer and you think, "Wow, that person was so nice." That is
Yeah.
so nice, and it's true that it is nice, because it's nicer to go through a drive-through and meet someone who's selling me my fucking Happy Meal with a smile than it is with a fucking sneer. but like,
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Like, that doesn't mean we're
absolutely.
friends. It means that like they want to keep their job or whatever. They happen to be in a good mood at that moment, or it's better for business to be nice.
It's
But once
sales.
things go
Yeah.
sideways, they're not gonna not fucking kidnap you, you know?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And sometimes you have to learn that the hard way.
yeah, as you did. On behalf of
As I
all of
did.
us, you bore the brunt of this experience, and now we can all learn through you. I mean, that is a truly harrowing but incredible and at times hilarious story. I mean, I can't believe that that is true, but it just goes to show that, you know, the best stories, if you made them if you made them up, wrote them down, and turned them into a movie, people would be like, "That's bullshit. That would never happen." But like
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
the, you know, truth is stranger than fiction thing comes up. It's just
Yeah, that's what I was going to
there's
say.
truth
Exactly.
to that. It's just real life is sometimes just the most fucked thing that could ever possibly happen.
But it's so precious.
Yeah, it is, and you know, you made it out, and as you said, it's good that the person that even held you hostage seems to be out, and she's clearly a mom now, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. And
Um,
that makes me happy.
yeah,
You know, I never thought that at the time, but
yeah, yeah,
I'm genuinely pleased to see that. I'd rather see somebody, you know, repent, so to
yeah,
speak,
yeah,
and be a better person in the future than just suffer for what they did. That
yeah. I mean,
really
that's true. I mean, if somebody can go through whatever penance, whether it's personal or external, like, you know, in prison, but you
yeah,
know, if you can come out the other end and be better off for it, and you know, there are some crimes that, you know, if you kill people, maybe it's harder to root for you to be a better person at the end of the day. Maybe you
yeah,
belong to rot in a jail, but like, you know,
absolutely.
you are here, you're smiling, you have a family now, you're happy, and so it's good that everyone can sort of uh, move on from it. The boyfriend who stole the money, and I don't know if I could say the same for him. That was a pretty shitty move because he's
Exactly.
not.
That's where you could draw the line,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's
exactly.
where,
Yeah,
you know, people
yeah,
making bad
yeah,
decisions and being selfish, and then
yeah.
there's some people, you know, they're just bad.
It is funny. It is funny that at the end of the day, that motherfucker caused all of this. The guy that made you make fake whatever the fuck synthetic
Yeah,
MDA,
yeah,
while there was real shit in
yeah.
heaps just in the house.
That
Also,
tells you everything,
I mean,
right?
what a fucking. There's always that one motherfucker, and in this case, it was him.
It
Uh,
was him.
all right, man. Well, if there's any, I mean, that is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us this story. This is
Thank you, Matt.
amazing.
Thank you. And by the way, I'm a big fan. I
Oh,
really am, and it was awesome to come on. I'm really glad I got the opportunity to speak with you, and I'm grateful for it all. I really am.
well, thank you, man. I appreciate that, and we'll be in touch. We'll certainly let you know when the episode's released.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you. Take care.